Hi, welcome to Weekly Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday, the 2nd of October. So I'm going to run through just some fundamental data for this week, and starting really with the European news. Of course, Catalonia had their independence referendum on Sunday, which the Prime Minister suggested was illegal, and they tried their best to disturb, but the vote went ahead, and well, Catalonia effectively voted for independence. However, probability of anything happening anytime soon seems very low, but the events may put more weighting, I guess, on the euro downside. So there's certainly a weakener for the euro. Other fundamental news, of course, starting from yesterday, running through for 4 days, is the Conservative conference, which I expect to create some volatility. That, of course, traders and the markets will be watching for any splits within the party as a whole, looking for weakness coming from May, or any sort of suggestions of anything that could really disturb Brexit, etc. So that's going to be quite a kicker, and probably put some weight towards the downside on the pound. Now we've got to remember that all of this, and with the euro and the pound, is balanced with the fact that both central banks are talking more bullishly. So overall, anything that may occur one way may find some support at some point, as well, we get down to what's seen as points of buying points, good value points. Anyway, from that point, that's looking at the sort of extraordinary news. Normal news and data coming out this week. Of course, we've got non-farm payrolls on Friday, which is the big figure. But before then, as we've already seen this morning, and we've got this afternoon, we've got manufacturing PMIs, we've got the purchasing managers index data coming in from manufacturing, construction, and services, which all tend to create some volatility generally within the markets. So we've got those on, well, today we've already seen at 9:30, 3 p.m. This afternoon we've got the US manufacturing PMI data coming out on, let's see, on Tuesday we've got the construction PMI coming out. We have got some Australian data, the bank rate coming out on Tuesday morning as well. So key data there. There is a German bank holiday on the Tuesday, which may see volumes drop a little bit, but other markets are still open for practice as normal service. Leading into Wednesday, we've got services, PMI, UK and US, ADP, non-farm payrolls. So there's lots of volatility there. We've got a couple of speakers, although Draghi's only opening it's the inauguration of the ECB Visitor Centre. Now that would be a riveting day out. Not. Side of that, let's just look. Fed Yellen speaking due to her open remarks at Community of Banking conference. Maybe get some volatility late Wednesday evening there, 8:15. Some Aussie retail sales that can create some volatility, and trade balance certainly can. We got the policy meeting accounts coming out on Thursday midday, 12:30 there. Again, seeing what they've actually said as opposed to what they told us they said may be a bit different, but so expect maybe some volatility around 12:30. We've got some speakers on Thursday as well, US speakers, which again may be some volatility as we run through Thursday afternoon with those different speakers. Okay, and then on Friday, of course, non-farm payrolls is the big number. Not a lot else significantly on Friday. So jobs, conferences, and Catalonia in summary. So looking at the markets, I'm looking at a weekly price action on the euro dollar. It seems to be wanting to burst out of its bands here, maybe pushing towards its weekly 21 at some point. It certainly looks like there's a bit of weakness there. This sort of current movement we've been seeing this morning, it just runs short of the weekly pivot there and is sold off almost straight away. So there does look weakness there. Now we may get some sort of support coming through, but from the daily and weekly, there's little really to be offered. We already seen the The weekly 200 provide a bit of support short term, but that's sloping down, and any further test may just see the price run through it. So um, I'm erring certainly at the beginning of this week to the downside. The pound, well, the pound had run up a couple of weeks ago into this trend line that was drawn on here. That seemed to be it. It's closed back within its bands there. You know, it's got an opportunity of coming down some more yet. And again, as there's potential weakness, it really depends on how things move on with the Conservative Party this week. I think more than anything else will have the biggest effect. Got a potential of rolling back down towards this sort of black line. I've got this regression channel level. Certainly, it's broken already the daily 21 today. It may just pop back up later on and make it look like it's just tested that. So there is always that potential, but we've still got the potential for it to get back on the bigger line back towards that, to say the main trend line there. Any break of that, well, then you're looking at 34 and 50, and they seem sort of logical points, but as I said, just natural support may come into these markets. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, well, that's been pushing up last few days. It broke the original trends. It's weekly wise, but it's well, it looks like it's running into another trend line. I'm meant to move that trend line off there. Let's see if I can get a level over the tops here. You see it's just run back into that sort of trend line there. Looks like it wants to break that. And certainly when you're looking at what it's doing at the moment, it's putting a little bullish pivot swing in if it closes anywhere near where it is at the moment. It does have some downside potential with the monthly pivot below and the weekly pivot just nearby. Well, certainly the weekly pivot may just provide some support for further bounces, though at the moment it's certainly looking weak against the dollar, hence the dollar pushing up here. The Aussie dollar, as I mentioned, there's news out on Tuesday morning as the cash rate, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of stance they're taking now. There was more of a bullish or hawkish one up until recently, but with exports and the price of oil going down, it may roll over a little bit. Weekly wise here, well, we've last week we tested a weekly 21. There's a chance, and it looks like we're really breaking that at the moment. And so the 34, this previous trend line would be quite a good target point with that 34 there, maybe even provide some support. But subject to Tuesday morning, that does still look to me to the bearish side. Let's just look from a daily perspective. And you can see there's a weekly pivot above us, and the monthly pivot is just above that as well. So any reversals, those sort of areas provide us targets, but for now the trend is taking us south. And finally the Canadian dollar here. Let's come back to weeklies first, and pushing and holding at the moment up there, broken the rising 200, so it's broken that sort of area. That's still suggesting upside, so there is that potential for a move maybe back all the way back to that weekly 21. Coming down to the dailies from that, and you sort of look what's happening here. We certainly broke the trend of this downward movement here, this regression channel. We've broken right out of that, and we just continuing. So I will take that off very soon, but I'd left it on. Have got monthly and weekly pivots below, but in fact, let's just check the weekly. Yeah, the weekly didn't get caught either. So again, they may provide support if we or targets if we do see any retracements coming through in the next few days. So that's pretty much there. I will have a quick look at gold, and I'll wait and see if there's any other requests on any other markets whilst I'm doing this. So gold, well, we're looking at well, it's put a pivot swing in on the weeklies there, and it's been running down here. Looks like, well, 34.50 may be sort of 34 or 50, I should say, on the weeklies may be further downside. I thought last week we may have been seeing, after we saw the sell-off, we might have sorry, the previous week there, I thought we might have seen on the Monday where we pushed up, I thought we might have seen some continuation, but the weakness prevails. It would seem that with these talks going on possibly with the US and North Korea, that the for now it's risk off, risk on effectively, and we may see a continuation down to 61.8, maybe down all the way back to, if it passes this daily 100, maybe a daily 200 could be a reasonable target in there. Okay, that's pretty much everything I want to cover here. So I shall wish you a great week, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.